The first attack didn't come with warships. It came with smiles. For years, the Galactic Council had kept Earth in check, calling us junior members. No real say. No votes that mattered. They paraded us at conferences, showed us off like a pet species learning how to sit at the big table. Most of our leaders played along, thought we'd climb the ladder, maybe take a seat among the old races in a few centuries. I never trusted them. Neither did most of the military. I was captain of the UNS Vanguard, one of our few proper deep space destroyers. Old ship, rough crew, but good men. We'd seen what the Council didn't want humans seeing. Whole sectors wiped out in containment operations. Colonies erased when they didn't toe the line. We kept our mouths shut, played the game, until they came for us. It started on Ares Station, out past Jupiter, one of our main refueling and research hubs. We thought it was safe. Neutral space, guaranteed protection under Council law. That was a joke. The bastards used the law as cover. Cargo ships drifted in. Council marked, inspected, cleared. What nobody knew, their hulls were seeded with nanoviruses, the kind that don't kill right away. They infiltrate, corrupt biosystems, sterilize, the perfect silent weapon. By the time the warning came, it was too late. 30,000 dead on Ares Station, another 15,000 in the Mars orbit colonies. The virus was fast, surgical, targeted only human biology, and the Council denied everything. I sat in the war room at Earth Command when the message came from the Council. Unfortunate tragedy. We extend condolences. Thorough investigation will follow. Not even a hint of guilt. No offer of aid. Our intelligence boys cracked their networks 2 days later. That's when we saw the real orders, greenlit by 3 Council members. They called it a containment purge. Codename, Final Silence. That was when the game ended. Earth's president went on the net, broadcast one message in every known language across the stars. You wanted final silence. You will have final war. There will be no mercy. My orders came in fast. The Vanguard wasn't going on patrol anymore. We were hunting. The first target was a relay hub near Proxima, a key node for Council fleet movements. No military defenses. Just a fat, soft station filled with techs and bureaucrats. The politicians back home argued about targeting civilians. The president didn't. Everyone involved in this system is complicit. No exceptions. This is our final warning. We jumped in under stealth. My crew was cold-eyed, silent. Not one hesitation. These were men who'd lost family on Ares or Mars. Some had buried wives. Others had nothing left but this war. We disabled the station's defenses in minutes. Then came the hard part. Airlocks blown, decks vented to vacuum. No survivors. We left the wreckage drifting as a message. The Council screamed, called it barbaric, illegal, atrocities, like they hadn't started this, like we were still going to play by their rules. We weren't. More ships followed. Old freighters converted into missile barges. Black Ops teams slipped into Council space. No targets off limits. Fuel depots, research labs, high-ranking Council families. The galaxy started to take notice. The other species, ones who'd looked down on us for so long, began to see what humans were when we stopped holding back. Predators, hunters, survivors who didn't forgive betrayal. Reports came in from the front lines, Council patrols refusing to engage human ships, merchant fleets abandoning sectors near Sol, even some minor species offering quiet support. They knew this wasn't a war anymore. It was vengeance, and it had only begun. On the bridge of the Vanguard, I watched another report come through. New Council orders authorizing fleet strikes on Earth itself. No more pretense. They were bringing the war home. I looked at my crew, hard men, angry, ready. "Send the reply," I said. My voice didn't shake. "No mercy." The reply was simple. No mercy. We broadcast it wide, open band. No encryption. Let the entire galaxy hear it. Let every soft-bellied Council envoy know what was coming. They thought we'd roll over. They thought humans still cared about their laws, their courts, Their precious diplomacy? Not anymore. I leaned back in the command chair of the Vanguard, my fingers tapping the armrest. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of systems and the occasional call-out from the nav team. My crew didn't chatter. They didn't joke. These men had seen what the Council's betrayal cost us. Most of them had lost family. Some had nothing left but this ship, and they followed me because I promised them something no politician could. Payback. "Captain," Commander Holt said from Tactical. "New intel packet just came through. Black Ops confirmed, secondary targets approved." I nodded. Holt was solid. Former Marine, transferred to the fleet after losing his brother on Ares Station. The man barely slept anymore, but I trusted him to keep the ship sharp. "What do we have?" I asked. Holt brought up the tactical display. The star chart of the Orion arm lit up with red markers. High-value targets. Council infrastructure, military command posts, key families. No more half measures. "New orders straight from Earth Command," Holt said grimly. "Target priority. Council core worlds." For a moment, the bridge was silent. That was a line nobody had crossed in 1,000 years. Core worlds were sacrosanct, untouchable by any council member, let alone an upstart species like us. But that was before final silence. Now there were no rules. I stood. "Plot a course to Cerex Prime," I ordered. "Council Sector Command Hub." There were some sharp breaths, but no arguments. Every man here knew what we were doing. This wasn't war anymore. It was extermination. We jumped in 2 days later. Cerex Prime was a glittering jewel of a world. Towering spires, vast orbital yards, massive fleets docked in orbit. It was supposed to be impenetrable, guarded by layers of automated defenses and elite council ships. But the council had grown fat on their own arrogance. They didn't believe humans would dare strike so deep, so fast. They believed wrong. We didn't come alone. 4 other ships shadowed us, 2 stealth corvettes and 2 converted freighters packed with strike drones and missile pods. Old ships, sure. But humans fought dirty. We didn't need sleek cruisers or flashy tech. We needed weapons that killed. We hit the outer defense grid first. Drone swarms disabled targeting arrays. Jamming systems flooded their comms. By the time the Council fleet realized what was happening, half their stations were blind. Then we moved in. "Fire all forward batteries," I ordered. The Vanguard's railguns roared, spitting tungsten slugs at hypersonic speeds. Shields flared and collapsed. Council ships scrambled, caught off guard. They weren't used to fighting humans in close quarters. They'd grown complacent, soft. We weren't soft. The first Council cruiser exploded under our guns, a massive fireball lighting up the void. Our drones swarmed the station docks, crippling launch bays. One freighter rammed a fuel depot, turning the orbital yard into a burning graveyard. On the bridge, Holt called out, "Cerex Prime's ground control is requesting terms." I almost laughed. Terms? After they sterilized Ares? Tell them Earth's terms. There will be no mercy. No reply came. The station's comms went dark. We turned the railguns on the surface. No precision strikes. No warnings. We cratered military installations, vaporized council compounds. Civilians? Council elite? They had sheltered their families behind walls of privilege for centuries. Now those walls came down in fire. By the time we pulled out, Cerex Prime was in chaos. Fires raged across the surface. Their proud fleet was reduced to wreckage. And the message was clear. Humans would not stop. Not until the Council burned. Back in Seoul, the War Council met in secret beneath the ruins of Old Geneva. The surface city was gone, leveled in the first Council strike 2 weeks ago. But underground, Earth's war machine was just getting started. I stood before the Council. Old generals, spy masters, hardened leaders who had shed their suits for combat uniforms. No more diplomats here, just men of war. Council forces are mobilizing, General Straker said. They're massing in the Centauri corridor. Expect to push toward Sol in 3 weeks. Good, I said coldly. Let them come. Some in the room looked uneasy. I didn't blame them. Earth was outnumbered 100 to 1. The Council controlled half the known galaxy, but numbers didn't win wars. Will did. And after what they'd done, there wasn't a human left who wouldn't fight to the death. What about the lesser species? I asked. Any word? Admiral Ross grunted. Some are watching. Some are hedging their bets, but a few. They're afraid of us now. They should be. Humanity had always been underestimated. We'd clawed our way from a backwater world in 1 short century. Now we'd shown the galaxy what happened when you pushed us too far, and we weren't done. Back aboard the Vanguard, we prepared for the next phase. New orders came through. Operation Final Warning, a coordinated strike across multiple Council sectors. Human fleets, stealth teams, drone swarms, no target too big. No target too sacred. I stood before my crew in the mess hall. Hard men. Veterans, survivors. Their eyes burned with the same fire I felt. Some of you lost family on Ares, I said. Some of you lost your homes, your brothers, your lives. I looked around the room. No one spoke. No one needed to. The Council thought they could break us, I said. They thought we would beg for mercy. A low growl of anger rippled through the crowd. Well, they were wrong, I continued. Now they will learn what it means to betray humanity. I raised my fist. There will be no mercy. The crew roared in unison. No more doubts, no more fear. We were beyond that now. The next targets came fast. We hit Council supply convoys. We sabotaged their shipyards. We assassinated their warlords. Every human fleet became a pack of wolves, hunting in the dark. The Council's mighty armadas found themselves bleeding from 1,000 cuts, and the galaxy watched. Some species whispered that humanity had gone mad, that we were becoming something darker, something unstoppable. They were right. Reports flooded in, human colonies fortifying, civilians training for war, factories turning out weapons day and night. Even the old rival factions on Earth had united. There were no nations anymore, just humanity, one people, one purpose, and our message remained the same. There will be no mercy. Then came the Council's response. A massive fleet, 1,000 ships, descended on the outer Sol colonies. Titan, Europa, Ganymede. They wanted to break our spirit, to show us that resistance was futile. Instead they found hell. Human defenders fought like demons, suicide runs, kamikaze strikes, booby-trapped stations, no surrender, no retreat. Council ships burned in droves. I watched the reports from the Vanguard's bridge, gritted my teeth as our people died, taking as many of the enemy with them as they could. Status, I demanded. Titan sector holding, Holt reported. Heavy losses, but they're bleeding the enemy dry. Good, I said. Prep the ship. We move in 0200 hours. Holt nodded. No hesitation. We weren't done yet. Not by a long shot. The galaxy thought it had seen the worst of humanity. But they hadn't seen us fight for survival. They hadn't seen us fight for vengeance. Now they would. And there would be no mercy. The corridors of the Vanguard buzzed with low, grim energy as we prepped for the next assault. Engineers worked around the clock, loading fresh munitions, patching hull breaches, welding armor plates. There was no time for downtime, no time for reflection. Not anymore. I stood in my quarters, staring at the latest intel feed. Footage from Titan, raw, uncut. The Council fleet had reduced the colony's upper platforms to slag. Civilians slaughtered wholesale. Women, children, entire families vaporized beneath plasma bombardments. The bastards called it a pacification strike. I called it what it was. Genocide. They wanted us to break, to surrender. But they didn't understand humans. They didn't understand men like us. Every drop of blood they spilled only forged our resolve. A chime sounded. Holt entered, his face like stone. He carried a datapad. Fresh orders. "Captain," he said, "Earth Command just greenlit Final Warning Phase 2. I took the pad and scanned it. My blood ran colder as I read. Phase 2 wasn't about tactical strikes anymore. It wasn't about disrupting the Council's fleets or sabotaging supply lines. It was extermination orders, targeting Council civilian infrastructure deep inside their core territories, power grids, water supplies, agricultural worlds, economic hubs, cut the arteries, starve them, freeze them, burn them. I looked at Holt. "They're sure?" Holt nodded once. "Confirmed. After what they did to Titan, no one on Earth is arguing anymore." I closed the pad. "Good," I said. "About time we stopped playing war. They wanted extinction. We'll give it to them." We gathered the crew in the Vanguard's war room, a battered chamber lined with tactical hollows and worn steel bulkheads. The men stood in ranks, faces hard as iron. Most had already fought in the deep strikes. Some had lost everything. The old rules of war didn't mean shit to them anymore. I looked them in the eyes. "Final Warning Phase 2 is go," I said. My voice was steady, cold. "No more surgical strikes, no more warnings." I brought up the target list. The hollow flared with red markers. Dozens of worlds, stations, colonies. "They wanted to erase us," I said. "Now we erase them." A low growl rippled through the room. Fists clenched, eyes burned. We hit fast. We hit hard. We leave nothing for them to rebuild. I stepped forward. "This isn't about mercy. It's about survival. Understand this. If we falter, if we hesitate, they will finish what they started." I looked around. "They have left us no choice. This is total war." Silence answered me, deadly, unanimous. Then Holt stepped up beside me. "No mercy," he said, a single voice, then another. Then the entire crew roared it. "No mercy!" We launched within 12 hours. Our fleet had grown. Raiders, stealth frigates, corvettes crewed by hard-edged volunteers. Men who didn't fear death anymore. Men who welcomed it if it meant taking the enemy with them. Our first target, Valar Station, a key logistics hub feeding 3 Council sectors, guarded by a dozen heavy cruisers and protected by Council Fleet Command. It was also the family seat of High Chancellor Vedran, the architect of final silence. The bastard thought he was safe, sitting behind layers of shields and treaties. He was wrong. We jumped in under cloak, our corvettes spreading out like wolves. Drone swarms preceded us, jamming comms, scrambling sensors. The Council fleet barely had time to react before we opened fire. Railguns roared, missile pods shrieked. Our crews fought with savage precision. The Council ships weren't ready for us. They fought like cowards, afraid to close, relying on their vaunted shield grids. But we'd adapted. EMP warheads shattered their defenses. Boarding teams struck like knives, cutting through their decks room by room. I led one of the teams myself. Blaster in hand, I stormed the flagship's command deck with Holt and 6 of my best. Council officers cowered behind consoles. Vedran himself stood at the viewport, shaking. I leveled my weapon at his head. "You wanted to silence us," I said coldly. "How's that working out for you?" He tried to speak. Begged, pleaded, offered deals, safe passage, a truce. I shot him in the face. No mercy. We rigged the flagship with charges and blew it to hell. Valar Station followed, detonated from the inside. We left nothing standing. The Council fleet retreated in disarray, leaving wreckage in their wake. Another message burned across the galaxy. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. The Council's response was swift and desperate. They declared humanity a rogue species, issued galactic bounties, mobilized war fleets from the core sectors. But it was too late. The fear had spread. Minor species who once looked down on us now watched in dread. Trade networks collapsed. Council alliances fractured. Whole sectors fell into chaos. And Earth had changed. Underneath the ruins of old Geneva, the War Council now ruled with an iron fist. Civilian factories converted into war foundries. Every able-bodied man drafted, trained, armed. Boys barely out of school volunteered in droves. Retired veterans returned to service. Criminal gangs were offered pardons to crew suicide ships. There were no innocents anymore. Only survivors. Or corpses. Our ships swarmed the void. Every human fleet became a terror in the stars. No mercy, no surrender, no retreat. But the Council wasn't done yet. Word came through. Massive enemy fleet movements toward Sol. A final push to break humanity once and for all. 50,000 ships. The largest force the galaxy had ever seen. I stood in the Vanguard's war room, studying the incoming data. ETA? I asked Holt. 3 days, he said grimly. They're throwing everything they've got. I looked at him. Good. He raised an eyebrow. Good, sir. I nodded. They're coming here to Sol. That means they're overconfident. They think we'll panic. They think they can crush us in one blow. I turned to the holo. They're wrong. We had prepared. Earth's orbital defenses bristled with fresh weapons. Rail platforms, drone swarms, kinetic kill sats. The moon's surface had been fortified into a fortress. Mars had been converted into a fleet bastion. And beneath the surface of Earth itself, something darker waited. Operation Iron Requiem, a failsafe project, a weapon of last resort. Even the Council didn't know we had it, but they would. As the enemy fleet closed in, humanity braced for the final battle. Men kissed their families goodbye, knowing they might never return. Civilians dug in or volunteered for frontline roles. No one fled. There was nowhere to run. And no one wanted to. Earth wasn't just a planet anymore. It was a fortress, a crucible, a tomb for those who dared assault it. I stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, watching the stars as the Council Armada approached. Holt came to my side. Orders, Captain? I looked at him. We hold the line, I said. We bleed them dry. And if they break through? He asked quietly. I smiled coldly. Then we unleash Iron Requiem. Holt's eyes darkened. He nodded. No mercy, he said. No mercy, I agreed. The stars ahead burned with enemy signatures, but so did the hearts of every human standing ready. They would come, and they would die, because humanity had been betrayed, and there would be no mercy. The first enemy scouts breached Sol's outer perimeter at 0430 hours. I watched the tactical display on the Vanguard's bridge. Red markers spreading like a virus across the void. Fighters, frigates, advanced cruisers. The Council fleet wasn't sneaking in. They wanted us to see them, wanted us to know what was coming. Status, I asked. Holt stood at tactical, jaw tight. Outer sentry platforms are engaging. No losses yet, but the main fleet is 36 hours out. I nodded. That was faster than expected. The Council wasn't playing games anymore. They were driving straight for Earth, betting everything on overwhelming force. Let them. We'd prepared for this moment since the first body dropped on Ares Station. Alert all fleet elements, I said. Phase 1 engagement pattern. Hold the line at Saturn orbit. Holt relayed the orders. Across Sol space, human ships shifted into position. Lean, fast, brutal. No polished parade fleets like the Council loved to show off. Ours were war machines, scarred, rebuilt, loaded to the teeth. Old freighters packed with missile pods. Converted miners bristling with railguns. Stealth corvettes armed with forbidden tech. Even civilian ships had been armed and crewed by men with nothing left to lose. This was what the Council didn't understand about us. They saw Earth as a young race. naive, fragile. But they forgot something. Humans were predators, and cornered predators fought without mercy. The first major clash came at Titan orbit. Council Vanguard ships moved in fast, hundreds of cruisers and heavy frigates. They expected an easy kill, wiping out the last of our outer defenses. What they got was slaughter. We mined the approach lanes with stealth drones rigged as kinetic bombs. When the Council ships charged in formation, the drones hit them broadside, solid tungsten rods at hypersonic speeds. Shields failed, hulls shattered, crews died screaming. Then our ships pounced. From the shadows of Titan's rings, wolfpack flotillas of human corvettes and missile boats surged forward, unleashing wave after wave of fire. I monitored the battle from Vanguard's bridge, relaying orders to the strike groups. "Pin their right flank," I barked. "Bring in Squadron 3 from low orbit." A moment later, another Council cruiser exploded in a flash of light. Reports poured in, heavy Council losses, human casualties mounting, but morale unbroken. Then came the second wave. Council dreadnoughts, planet-killer warships, bristling with plasma cannons and antimatter torpedoes. They advanced slowly, methodically. These weren't showpieces. These were executioners. "Time to reposition," Holt said grimly. I shook my head. "No," I said. "We bleed them here. Every kilometer we give, they'll make us pay for later." I stood, voice hard. "Signal all ships. Hold the line. No retreats." For the next 18 hours, Sul became a hellscape. Council forces pushed harder, throwing wave after wave into our lines. The void was choked with wreckage. Frozen corpses drifted through shattered hulls. Our casualties spiked. We lost 5 cruisers at Titan, 6 more at Ganymede. Thousands of men dead. Still we fought. Still we killed. Council commanders underestimated how far humans would go. They didn't understand that for us, this wasn't just survival. It was vengeance. And vengeance didn't care about casualties. By the time the enemy reached Earth orbit, both fleets were bloodied and battered. Council dreadnoughts loomed above the planet, weapons primed. They opened fire, broadside barrages of plasma and antimatter. Earth's orbital platforms responded in kind, unleashing railgun salvos and kinetic strikes. From Vanguard's bridge, I watched Earth's defense grid light up. "Shield saturation at 60%, Holt reported. "Bring up secondary batteries," I ordered. "Prepare for counterstrike." Suddenly, a priority signal flashed across the console. "Earth Command." I opened the channel. The face of General Straker appeared, bruised and bloodied beneath the ruins of old Geneva. "Captain," he said, "it's time." I knew what he meant. Iron Requiem. Our final card. Iron Requiem wasn't a weapon of pride. It was born in desperation, in the darkest hours after Ares fell. A contingency born from the understanding that the Council would never stop, that they would burn Earth to the bedrock if we let them. It was simple, in its own way. A planetary-scale fusion grid hidden beneath Earth's crust, linked to orbital relays and a quantum AI core. When triggered, it would unleash a focused energy burst across Sol space, a gravitational shear pulse designed to cripple anything larger than a shuttle. No ship, no shield, no Council fleet would survive it. But there was a price. It would shatter Sol's space-time fabric for years. No FTL, no jumps, no reinforcements. And every ship caught in the blast, enemy or human, would be trapped. It was the last line. "Understood," I told Straker. "We'll buy you the time." He nodded once. "Good hunting, Captain. And if this is it—" He didn't finish. He didn't have to. The channel cut. I turned to Holt. "Prep the crew," I said. "We fight to the last second." Holt's eyes were like steel. "No mercy," he said. "No mercy." The final engagement began. Council dreadnoughts surged toward Earth, plasma beams lancing out, carving through our lines. But we didn't break. We threw everything at them: missiles, drones, suicide runs. Old freighters rammed enemy ships. Gunships dove headfirst into plasma storms. I led the charge aboard Vanguard. Our railguns fired until barrels glowed white-hot. Missile racks emptied. Hull plating scorched. "Enemy dreadnought bearing 320, Holt called out. "Target engines," I ordered. "We'll gut it." The Vanguard swung hard, railguns locking on. A thunderous salvo tore into the dreadnought's flank. Explosions rippled down its spine, engines flaring. Then a council cruiser struck us. Broadside plasma hit. The ship shook. Consoles sparked. Alarms screamed. "Damage report," I shouted. "Forward shields down," Holt yelled. "Hull breach decks 9 through 12. "Seal it," I snapped. "Keep firing." Men fought deck to deck. Fires burned unchecked. Casualties mounted. But we held. We had no choice. Finally, the signal came. Iron Requiem online. Countdown T-minus 5 minutes. The endgame. I opened fleet communications. "All ships, this is Captain Hayes," I said. "Iron Requiem will fire in 5 minutes. All units withdraw to safe zones." There was no hesitation. No cowardice. Every man in the fleet knew what this meant. Some would make it out. Many wouldn't. But none would stop fighting. "Safe zones?" Holt asked grimly. I met his eyes. "There are no safe zones," I said. He nodded. "Then we stay." The battle reached fever pitch. Council ships pressed closer, desperate to land a killing blow before the pulse fired. We countered with suicidal ferocity. I watched as one of our old freighters, CS Iron Fang, rammed a Council battleship head-on, detonating its reactor. Both ships vanished in a sun-bright blast. Another human squadron dove straight into a dreadnought's hangar bays, gutting it from the inside. Every second we bought was another second Iron Requiem charged. 2 minutes, Holt called. I gripped the command chair. "Hold the line." 1 minute. The bridge was a war zone, sparks flying, consoles shattered, smoke choking the air. But Vanguard still fought. We crippled 2 more cruisers, drove a dreadnought into Earth's upper atmosphere, burning it alive. 30 seconds. Council ships closed in. Too close. They wanted to take us down before the pulse fired. Holt met my eyes. "It's been an honor, Captain." I smiled grimly. "Likewise, brother." I opened fleet comms one last time. "All units, brace for pulse. No mercy." The countdown hit 0, and Sewell burned. The pulse hit like a wrathful god. A blinding wave of gravitational force tore through the void. Council ships twisted, crushed like paper. Engines ruptured, hulls imploded, FTL drives fried, power grids shattered. One moment, 1,000 ships filled Earth orbit. The next, silence. Only wreckage remained, burning, drifting. I looked around Vanguard's bridge. Systems flickered, gravity warped, but we were still alive. Holt coughed through smoke. "Status?" I checked the displays. "Council fleet destroyed," I said. "We held." He grinned through blood. "No mercy," he whispered. "No mercy," I said. And Earth stood, scarred, burning but free, for now. The smoke hadn't cleared. Days after Iron Requiem fired, Earth's orbit remained a graveyard. Twisted wreckage drifting in the void. Frozen corpses tangled in ruptured hulls. Council ships. Human ships. There was no difference now. The stars themselves seemed dimmer, choked by the ghosts of the battle. I stood on Vanguard's bridge, staring at the tactical display. Where once a Council armada had loomed, now there was silence. No enemy signals, no comm chatter, just debris. But the price had been steep. We'd lost over 70% of our fleet. Some ships had been vaporized in the pulse, others crippled beyond repair. Casualty lists scrolled endlessly on my console, names of men who'd fought to the last second. Friends, brothers, I knew half of them personally, and yet Earth still stood, scarred, bloodied, but unbroken. I left Holt in command and took a shuttle planetside. Old Geneva was gone, a smoldering crater beneath the Alps. The Council's final strikes had turned the city to glass before Iron Requiem fired. But beneath the ruins, the War Council still held court in the bunkers. I descended into the deep command tunnels, past checkpoints manned by grim-faced soldiers. No polished uniforms here, no parade officers, just men hardened by fire. General Straker met me in the war room. He looked older, hair gone white, one arm in a sling, but his eyes still burned. "Captain Hayes," he said, "you did it." "We all did," I said. He gestured to the holo display. "Council fleet destroyed. Their core sectors are in chaos. We've intercepted transmissions. Panic spreading through the Council worlds." I studied the holo. Red markers flickered across dozens of systems. "What about us?" I asked. He didn't sugarcoat it. "Sol's crippled. No FTL in system for months. Half our fleet gone. Civilian losses catastrophic. We're holding barely." I nodded. "And the Council?" I pressed. A grim smile touched his lips. "They're terrified." "Good." The reports painted a clear picture. When Iron Requiem fired, it didn't just destroy a fleet, it shattered the Council's illusion of control. For centuries, they'd ruled through fear and technological superiority. They'd believed no young species could challenge them. Now they knew better. Across the galaxy, Council worlds rioted. Minor species refused tribute. Trade networks collapsed. Some Council factions even turned on each other, desperate to save their own skins. And in the shadows, humanity's name spread like wildfire. They called us monsters, butchers, a rogue species without restraint. I didn't care. Let them fear us. Fear was a weapon, and we would wield it. Within a week, Earth's War Council reconvened. The question wasn't if we should strike back. It was how hard. I stood before the Council, flanked by Holt and a cadre of fleet officers. Straker addressed the room. "Gentlemen, the Council is bleeding. If we move now, we can break them completely." Some voices hesitated. "Sol is crippled," one admiral warned. "If we overreach, they won't give us another chance," I cut in. "If we wait, they'll rebuild. Next time, they won't hesitate to use their worst weapons." Straker nodded. "Captain Hayes is right. The Council left us no choice. This is an extinction war." There it was, spoken openly at last. Not a war for territory, not a war for survival, a war of annihilation. The plan was brutal. Hit Council core sectors, target their homeworlds, their infrastructure, their leadership. No diplomacy, no quarter. We would become the terror of the stars. "Operation Black Dawn," Straker announced. "Fleet groups will strike in waves, no targets off limits." I volunteered Vanguard immediately. "We lead the first wave," I said. Straker met my gaze. No argument. "You'll have priority clearance," he said. "Take what you need." Holt glanced at me as we left the Council chamber. "Do you think we can win this?" he asked. I looked at him hard. "We've already won," I said. "Now we make sure they never forget." Vanguard limped back into orbit for final repairs. Crews worked without rest, patching hull breaches, rearming missile racks, refitting railguns. Civilians volunteered to crew the ship. Survivors of Ares, widows from Titan, young men with fire in their eyes. They didn't care about experience. They wanted vengeance. I addressed them on the hangar deck. "We are not diplomats," I said. "We are not conquerors." I let the words hang. "We are reapers. The Council brought this war to us. Now we bring it to them." A roar shook the deck. "No mercy!" It wasn't a slogan anymore. It was who we were. 2 weeks after Iron Requiem, Vanguard jumped again. One of the first ships to break Sol quarantine. Our target, Drazen Prime. A Council hub world, rich, arrogant, one of the species who'd voted for final silence. Their senators had toasted the sterilization of Ares. Now they would pay. We entered Drazen space under stealth. Their defenses were pathetic, half their fleet still trapped in Sul or crippled from the galactic collapse. They hadn't expected a human strike so soon. Their mistake. "Target orbital stations first," I ordered. Vanguard's railguns shredded the stations in minutes. Escape pods were ignored. Civilians? No distinction anymore. On the surface, riots broke out as our attack began. We followed with orbital bombardment, rail slugs and plasma rains turning proud cities to rubble. I gave no quarter. No council senator would live to vote again. Word of the raid spread faster than we expected. Within days, other human strike groups hit council targets. Shipyards, colonies, family estates. The council called us terrorists. I didn't give a damn. They had shown us what mercy earned, genocide. Now we gave them what they feared. The War Council sent new orders. Escalate. Psychological warfare authorized. Maximum impact. I met with Holt in Vanguard's ready room. "They want us to make an example," Holt said. I stared at the data. A council world of breeders, one of the core species that supplied the council fleets with their crews. Civilians? Technically. But so were the families on Ares. I stood. "Prep the ship," I said. "We burn it." Holt didn't flinch. "No mercy." The deeper we struck, the darker the war became. There were no innocents anymore. The council had taught us that. We hit fuel depots, medical centers, FTL relay hubs, refugee convoys. Nothing was off limits. And the galaxy trembled. Minor species sent envoys, begging neutrality, offering tribute, swearing loyalty. I told them one thing. You stayed silent when they killed our people. Now silence won't save you. Humanity had become a force of nature. We didn't conquer worlds. We erased them. But there was still more to do. Intel came in. Council High Command had retreated to a fortified sector near the galactic core. Their last redoubt, their final hope. Straker sent the order. "Crush them." I gathered Vanguard's crew. "This is it," I said. "The ones who ordered final silence are there. The ones who would do it again." I looked at their faces. Hard, determined. "We end this war. We end them. No mercy," they roared. I smiled. "Prepare to jump." As the stars shifted on Vanguard's bridge, Holt leaned close. "When this is over? What then?" I answered without hesitation. "We rebuild." "And the council?" I looked at him coldly. "There won't be a council. No mercy, no forgiveness, only fire, only victory. And when the stars burned clean, humanity would rise alone. The galaxy had betrayed us. Now the galaxy would learn. There will be no mercy." The stars outside Vanguard's viewport shimmered with the distortion of the jump. We were deep now, closer to the galactic core than any human ship had ever ventured. Council space. The heart of the empire that had ruled the stars for millennia. Now it would burn. I stood on the bridge, staring at the swirling maelstrom of stars. Holt moved beside me, tactical display in hand. "We're approaching target sector," he said. "Council High Command signals confirmed." I nodded. "How's the fleet?" "Scattered, but committed," Holt replied. "Most of our strike groups took heavy losses on the way in. We're down to 60% strength." It didn't matter. We hadn't come to fight a war of attrition. We'd come to finish this. The Council's core sector was a fortress, an entire system walled off by layers of automated defenses, minefields, and planetary-scale shields. The Council had poured centuries of resources into making it impenetrable. But nothing was impenetrable to a species with nothing left to lose. Operation Black Dawn had prepared us for this. Ahead of Vanguard, stealth corvettes deployed wave after wave of jamming drones and decoy fleets. Suicide squads dove straight into minefields, clearing paths with blood and steel. From the shadows, human saboteurs struck, hacking comm networks, disabling power grids. The Council expected a frontal assault. Instead, we came like wolves. The first breach came at the outer perimeter. A Council battle station, manned by one of their elite warrior castes, stood guard over the jump corridor. We didn't negotiate. Vanguard's railguns opened fire the second we dropped cloak. Hypersonic slugs ripped through the station's shields, punching holes in its hull. Boarding pods followed, packed with Marines and volunteers, men who didn't expect to return. I led one of the teams myself. We breached through the command ring, weapons hot. Council warriors met us with plasma blades and arc rifles. It didn't matter. We cut them down, room by room, deck by deck. By the time we reached the core, the station was ablaze. Council officers begged for terms. I shot them where they stood. No mercy. We rigged the station to self-destruct and moved on. Beyond the breach, the Council's core worlds came into view. I'd seen the files, heard the stories. Verdant paradise worlds, sprawling cities of crystal and light, the ancient heart of a decaying empire. Now, as Vanguard and the fleet pushed in, I saw something else. Targets. Council transports fled in every direction. Civilian liners packed with elites tried to run. We tracked them, marked them, and destroyed them. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Holt stood at tactical, cold-eyed. "They didn't show mercy to Ares," he said. "No," I agreed, "and they won't get it now." We targeted the primary orbital ring, Council High Command's seat of power. Massive, beautiful, defended by 100 ships, and about to become a tomb. The battle for the High Ring was pure chaos. Council defenders fought with desperation. They knew what we'd done to Drazen Prime. They knew what was coming. Their ships outnumbered us 2-1. Their weapons were more advanced, but they were fighting for power. We were fighting for vengeance, and that made all the difference. We hit them hard. Wolfpack tactics, hit-and-run strikes. Suicide runs crippled their cruisers. Railguns punched through their dreadnoughts. Vanguard led the charge, cutting a path straight through their center. "Target command spires," I ordered. "Take out their leadership." One by one, the spires fell, engulfed in fire. Council communications broke down. Their formations shattered. And we drove straight into the heart of the station. The final assault was brutal. We boarded with everything we had: Marines, volunteers, even ship engineers armed with scavenged weapons. The Council elites, once untouchable, cowered behind their guards. They begged. They pleaded. They offered peace. I gunned them down one after another. Holt stood beside me, blood spattered across his armor. "Cowards," he spat. "They murdered our children," I said. "They get no quarter." We cleared the last chamber. Bodies piled high. And with a final charge, we rigged the station's core to blow. As we evacuated, I looked back at the once proud symbol of Council rule. Now it was just another ruin. Across the sector, human strike groups reported similar victories. Council homeworlds were burning, orbital habitats destroyed, Fleet Command in shambles, Council leadership dead or in hiding. The Empire was collapsing. But it wasn't over yet. Not until we made sure they could never rise again. The War Council sent new orders. Total extermination, no survivors, no legacy. Some hesitated. Even hardened veterans questioned the path we were on. I didn't. I gathered Vanguard's crew. "You've seen what they are," I said. "You've seen what they did to us." I let the words sink in. This is our chance to end them, for good. I looked around. No mercy. The crew roared. No mercy. The final phase began. We hit agricultural worlds, poisoned their food supplies. We shattered terraforming grids, turned paradise planets to wastelands. We hunted Council survivors across the stars. No safe haven remained. Entire species who had once ruled the galaxy fled in terror at the sight of human ships. The predators had become prey, And humanity had become something else. But victory came at a price. Reports filtered in, human strike groups going rogue, acts of brutality beyond orders, worlds glassed without strategic value. Some began to question whether we were becoming worse than the enemy. I didn't care. We hadn't started this war. But we would finish it, whatever it took. Then the word came. A final council fleet, remnants of their core defense force, had regrouped at a hidden refuge world, their last stand. Straker's orders were clear. Eradicate them. I stood on Vanguard's bridge as we plotted the jump. Holt glanced at me. After this, will it be over? I didn't answer right away. Would it? Could it? I looked at the crew, at the scars, the hunger in their eyes. For some, maybe. For me? I wasn't sure. But I knew one thing. This last strike would leave no doubt. I faced Holt. No mercy, he nodded. No mercy. And we jumped. Toward the Council's last breath, toward the final blow, toward the end of the galaxy as they had known it. The jump completed with a hard jolt. The Vanguard dropped into real space at the edge of the Council's last refuge system. Verdonis. It had been one of their most ancient sanctuaries, hidden deep behind gravitational distortions and sensor ghosts. For centuries, no human had set eyes on it. Now, we had come to end it. I stood on the bridge, staring at the forward display. Holt brought up tactical. Multiple energy signatures, Council warships, at least 3 remaining dreadnoughts, 15 cruisers, support craft. He looked grim. They're dug in. Good. We wanted them to fight. We hadn't come for surrender. We'd come for annihilation. Fleet comms crackled as the rest of our strike force emerged from jump space. The survivors of 1,000 battles, scarred ships, patched hulls, crews running on rage and adrenaline. Some of these men had been fighting since Ares. They weren't here for glory. They were here for revenge. I opened a channel to the fleet. "This is Captain Hayes," I said. "You know why we're here." No speeches, no politics. They slaughtered our people. They burned our worlds. I let the words hang. Now we return the favor. The fleet responded as one. No mercy. We advanced in waves. Verdanus was a fortress. Layers of orbital defense grids, minefields, plasma batteries, and shielded stations. The Council had hoarded their last strength here. But they had made one fatal mistake. They thought they could outlast us. They didn't understand what humanity had become. We weren't soldiers anymore. We were hunters. And this was our final hunt. The first engagement tore through their outer defenses. Stealth drones detonated Council mines, clearing a path. Suicide boats rammed shield platforms. Our corvettes slipped through the chaos, striking their comm relays and targeting nodes. Vanguard led the main charge, railguns hammering Council cruisers. Holt's voice cut through the comms. "Dreadnought bearing 065, shields weakening." I leaned forward. "Concentrate fire, bring it down." Our fleet surged, missiles screaming through space. The dreadnought's shields flared, then failed. It didn't die easy. Plasma lances scored across our formation, gutting one of our escort ships. But we didn't stop. We hammered the dreadnought until its core detonated in a searing white flare. One down, more to go. The battle raged for hours. Verdanis burned. Council warships fought with the desperation of the doomed. They knew what waited if they lost. They fought harder than we'd seen before. Suicidal charges, ramming runs, point-blank barrages. But desperation wasn't enough. We had nothing left to lose. I watched through the viewport as another Council cruiser broke apart under our guns. "Enemy fleet collapsing," Holt reported. "Council command signals fragmenting." I opened fleet comms again. "Press the attack. No prisoners." Across the system, human ships surged forward. Council defense lines crumbled. Their last dreadnought attempted a retreat burn, engines flaring. I locked eyes with Holt. Not one escapes. Understood. We chased the dreadnought into the upper atmosphere of Verdanus Prime, raining fire on it until it broke apart and crashed into the surface in a miles-wide explosion. There would be no survivors. Then came the final phase. Council High Command had holed up in their last bastion, an ancient fortress buried beneath Verdanus Prime's capital city. A city of spires and crystal towers, a city now under siege. Orbital bombardment began. No precision, no warnings. We turned the Council's proud capital to ash. Civilians? Officials? Families? No distinction anymore. Ares Station had taught us that lesson. By the time we launched ground teams, the city was a smoking ruin. We landed in force. Marines, shock troops, even ship crew volunteers. I led the assault myself. We breached the fortress with seismic charges. Council guards fought fanatically, cornered beasts defending their den. We showed them what true predators looked like. Room by room, we cleared the fortress. Council leaders huddled in panic chambers, begging for terms, offering surrender, promising reparations. I ordered the chambers sealed, then vented them to vacuum. No mercy. By the end of the day, it was over. Verdanus burned. The Council fleet was gone, their leaders dead, their empire extinct. I stood amid the ruins of the Council's last sanctuary. The air stank of smoke and scorched metal. Holt approached, helmet under one arm. "It's done," he said. I looked at him. "For them." He frowned. "And for us?" That was the question, wasn't it? We had won. But what had we become? The fleet gathered in orbit as the fires of Verdanus raged below. Across human comm networks, the news spread. Victory. The Council is no more. Earth broadcast one message to the galaxy. Humanity rises. There will be no mercy for those who oppose us. And across the stars, they listened. Minor species surrendered without a fight. Council collaborators fled into deep space. Worlds that had once mocked us now groveled for our favor. But beneath the celebration, a shadow loomed. We had won through fire and blood had changed us. I saw it in the eyes of my men, in my own reflection. There was no going back. In the following days, Fleet Command convened. What next? Some called for peace, for rebuilding, others called for conquest. I knew what would happen. We had become the thing the galaxy feared, and that fear was a weapon we would not surrender. I stood before the Council. "There will be no peace," I said. "Not yet." I looked around. We remember Ares. We remember Titan. We remember every man, woman, and child they slaughtered. I let the words settle. We will hunt those who remain. We will burn their allies. We will ensure no one forgets. Holt stood. "No mercy." The chamber echoed with the words. "No mercy." And so it began. The purge. Remnants of the Council hunted to the ends of the stars. Collaborators executed. Resistance crushed. The galaxy reshaped beneath the boot of humanity. No longer the junior species, no longer prey. We had become predators, and the stars would never forget. I returned to Vanguard, standing on the bridge as we prepared for the next hunt. Holt approached. "Do you think we'll stop?" he asked. I met his gaze. "When every enemy is ash." He nodded, and so we jumped again, toward new stars, new targets, because the war wasn't over. It had only changed, and there would be no mercy. 6 months after Verdanus burned, the galaxy belonged to us. The Council was dead, their homeworlds reduced to rubble, their fleets shattered, their species scattered across the void, hunted like animals. Humanity had risen from the ashes of betrayal. But at what cost? I stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, staring at the stars. They looked different now. Cold. Empty. We had charted routes no human had ever dared, crossed into the darkest reaches of the core, burned worlds that had stood for millennia, and in doing so, We had become something the galaxy would never forget. Or forgive? I didn't care. Holt approached, datapad in hand. "Latest reports from Earth," he said. "New fleets launching, recruitment numbers through the roof." I nodded. "What about the minor species?" He gave a grim smile. "Surrendering, or dying." The message was clear. Humanity ruled now, and there would be no mercy for dissent. The War Council met aboard Earth's new flagship, ISS Revenant, a symbol of our new place in the galaxy. I attended with Holt and senior captains, men who had bled for this war, men who now shaped what came next. General Straker stood at the head of the table, older, harder, the fire in his eyes undimmed. "Gentlemen," he began, voice cold, "the council is gone, but the work is not finished." He brought up a holo, stars flickering with red marks. "Pockets of resistance remain. Loyalists, collaborators, refugees." He looked around. "They will be hunted, erased." I spoke. "And then?" Straker met my gaze. "Then we build, a new order." Silence. Some shifted uneasily. Others nodded. Holt spoke. "Under whose banner?" Straker's smile was thin. "Under humanity's." No debate, no question. We had earned this, and so the purge began. Fleet groups swept across the void, tracking survivors, eliminating threats. I led Vanguard into sectors I'd never imagined reaching. Council remnants fled before us. Some fought. Most died. We gave no quarter. Their crimes demanded none. And the galaxy watched. Species that once called us savages now knelt. Worlds that once scorned us now swore fealty. We didn't ask for loyalty. We demanded submission. And they gave it, out of fear. But beneath the victories, cracks began to show. Rumors spread of human crews going rogue, of worlds wiped for sport, of atrocities beyond orders. I heard them, saw the reports, and part of me wondered, had we gone too far? Then I remembered Ares, Titan, Verdanus. I clenched my fist. Number we were doing what had to be done. What the Council forced us to become. There was no going back. Months turned to a year. Humanity's empire solidified. Earth became the new galactic capital, its skies filled with fleets, its halls echoing with the fear of envoys from every corner of known space. And me? I remained on the front. Hunting. Killing, ensuring the message stayed clear. Defy us, and die. Then came the call. An old sector, a hidden council enclave, final survivors gathering strength, the last ember of a dead empire. Fleet Command dispatched a task force. Vanguard would lead. Holt met me on the bridge as we prepared. "After this," he said quietly, "maybe it ends." I looked at him. Maybe. But in my gut, I knew better. War leaves scars, and some never fade. We jumped in fast, no warning. The Enclave was a shadow of its former power. Fewer ships, fewer defenses, but still, they fought. To the last. We gave them no chance. Boarded their ships, scoured their outposts. I killed a former council admiral with my own hands. Old, broken, begging. I showed him the same mercy they'd shown our people. None. When it was done, the Enclave burned, and with it, the last of the old council. I stood on Vanguard's deck, watching the fires below. Holt came beside me. "It's over," he said. I nodded, but my voice was cold. "For them." He looked at me. "And for us?" That I couldn't answer. We returned to Earth as heroes. Parades, honors, medals. None of it mattered. I saw the faces of the civilians, awed, terrified. They didn't cheer us out of pride. They cheered us out of fear, and I understood then. We hadn't just won the war. We had become something darker, a shadow over the stars. Fleet Command offered me a seat on the new ruling council. I refused. There was still work to do, still enemies to hunt, still ghosts to chase. Holt stayed by my side. "We can't stop," he said one night. I stared at the stars. No, I agreed. We've come too far, and deep down, I knew the truth. Even if the war ended, even if no enemy remained, we would find new ones, because men like us, men forged in fire, don't know how to stop. And so the Vanguard sailed again, a black ship in a darkened galaxy, carrying the name of a betrayed race, carrying the fury of 1,000 dead worlds, carrying the warning, there will be no mercy, not today, not ever, and the stars would remember, forever.